Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the amazing Transformers Human Alliance Jazz. As I no longer have the packaging for this figure, we will take a closer look at his accessories first and then we'll take a closer look at Jazz. The main accessory that Jazz does come with is this miniature figure of Lennox. Now, as this is Human Alliance, all these figures did come with minifigs from the movies. In Jazz's case, he came with Lennox, who is played by Josh Duhamel. Obviously, this is probably one of the more poorer quality sculpts, as this does not resemble Josh Duhamel whatsoever. However, he's only about an inch and a bit tall, so can't really blame him for that. There is quite a lot of detail packed into this as well. We've got all the pouches around his vest. We've got sculpted in guns on the sides of his legs and a walkie-talkie. Creases all throughout the clothing, so it's really pretty detailed. He's also fairly articulated. He does have a swivel joint at the head. His arms can rotate 360 degrees and can hinge out just where the shoulder is, up and down. There is no elbow articulation nor wrist articulation. There is no waist articulation neither. However, the legs are very articulated. The top of the leg, there is a swivel joint, so you can swivel from side to side. There is also this hinge joint that allows you to kick forwards and somewhat back. There is also a swivel at the knee, a 360 degree swivel, and a bend about 90 degrees. So overall, this little Lennox figure is actually pretty impressive in terms of details and articulation. Another accessory that Jazz comes with is this really cool motorcycle gun. Now, this is supposed to resemble what he uses in the first Transformers movie, so we've got a very cool silver shield going on here with some barrels around where the missile projects. It is just a motorcycle. I will show you what the motorcycle looks in just a bit. There is several pegs to allow you to actually incorporate the Lennox figure onto it, so you can, if you want, put him on it and just clamp his arms on the little pegs, and he does stay on there pretty well. There is a small peg here which does plug onto Jazz, so just showing that off. You do have to somewhat transform Jazz. You have to swivel and then just push that in, and then there's a little peg that will plug into this post here, and once that is done you can just fold this up and Jazz is good to wield his weapon. Really cool, and especially as this does transform from a motorcycle, I'm very impressed. Now, there is a small button here, you wouldn't even know it was there. When you push that, the missile will shoot, and after 7 years I can say that the missile is still as strong as ever, so that's really cool to see. The transformation on the motorcycle is pretty simplistic, so what I tend to do is just hinge it outwards, fold it down upon itself, fold the shield pieces in, just lift the wheel just slightly from this piece here, and then with this I will fold and just swivel it out of the way, and there you've got Jazz's weapon in the motorcycle mode. Now, this is really where you can incorporate Lennox. I will show you some pictures on the screen now. As you can see, you can get Lennox displayed in a variety of different ways all over the motorcycle, so that's really cool. Now, taking a look at the main attraction himself, here we have Human Alliance Jazz. Now, this personally for me is my favourite Transformer of all time. It beats every other Transformer that I have in my collection, and I do have a lot. This guy is just so impressive. His vehicle mode is relatively small and he turns into this very well sized robot mode. The detail, the articulation, everything on him is really good. Bringing him in closer, he is done in a very cool kind of dark gunmetal silver all throughout. So that looks really nice, especially when you get him into vehicle mode. The visor on the head is a metallic blue. It's just a plastic, and you can see all the details of Jazz's head sculpt. Really nice. Now, there is a feature with this, turning it around. There is a small switch at the back that when you flick that, the visor will come up to reveal Jazz's eyes. Not my preferred look, however, it's definitely a very cool feature. And he only does this for about 5 seconds in the movie, so it's definitely not a feature that Hasbro needed to include. However, I am very pleased that they did. Moving down to the chest, we've got the angled headlights. This whole piece does sound in vehicle mode, so that's very cool. We've got a very nice Autobot insignia on his crutch. Moving down, we've got all the different car parts. I just really like the first movie designs for these Transformers. It's just Transformers should have car parts on them. The latest ones from the new films, they tend to be more sleek, and that's why the toys, I believe, don't have a very good presence. These guys were just so well done. Turning to the arms, this is where it gets a little bit bad. I mean, I don't think it's too awful, but the arms are very thin, and if you have them like that, it does give him this very flat look. However, I don't think it's too bad at all. Turning to articulation, this guy is just packed with articulation. The head is on a swivel, so can swivel 360. Due to transformation, you can hinge it up, however it does kind of sink into the head. The collarbone pieces, as I said, are on ball joints, so you can swivel them and move them around whatever way you please. The arms can do a full 360 at the shoulder. There is a bend allowing you to move the arm out just there. There is a 360 just above the elbow. There is also a hinge joint here, mainly due to transformation, and an elbow joint, which is more like a double elbow joint, as he can really curl that up. However, there are not double joints. The hands can swivel around, and you can pose the claws of his fingers due to transformation. Unfortunately, there is no waist articulation. However, as this guy transforms, it just wouldn't be possible. Moving down to the legs, they can kick forwards that far and kick back about that far. They can split at the top of the thigh. There is a joint here allowing you to kick Jazz very far, and due to transformation you can use this joint as well. However, it does get a tad bit messy. There is also, due to transformation, this joint which allows you to lift this piece up. I'm not particularly sure why. I do think it's so that the heel spur does touch the ground and it's not the wheel, so that's very nice that they included that. And these pieces can hinge here, but that's mainly due to transformation and the Human Alliance element of the figure. Talking of Human Alliance elements, as we discussed earlier, he does come with Lennox. This guy can be stored in a variety of different ways. He does have little peg holes on the bottom of his feet, and Jazz does, I believe, have on him somewhere a small peg that does allow you to fit him onto the hand. I believe it's this one. So as we can see, there is a small peg there. You can just plug Lennox onto and he will stay there very securely. There is also a seat on the top of Jazz's shoulder which you can lift up, and there is a peg there which will plug into his back. So just doing that, we can see that it does stay on there very securely. There is also a gun at the back which lifts up, and you can flip over Lennox's shoulder to look like and give the illusion that he is controlling that weapon. The final incorporation of the Human Alliance figure that I have found out quite recently is that if you bend the legs down, there is little pegs on the bottom which allows you to peg Lennox into the feet of Jazz. Not particularly sure why you'd want to do this. However, there are small little guns here, so I'm not too sure whether that's supposed to be Lennox controlling the guns with his feet or what. However, you can lift these up if you so choose, fold them up and give him just more paneling along the shins of his legs. So that's definitely a cool look. The Human Alliance gimmick was always kind of dumb to me. However, the incorporation on this guy I don't think is too bad at all. For a size comparison, here we have Jazz next to the newly released masterpiece Bumblebee. As we can see, Jazz is slightly taller than Bumblebee, which I don't believe is accurate to the movie. However, I don't particularly think that it looks too bad on a shelf whatsoever. I do hope that we do get a masterpiece version of Jazz, as this guy already is perfect. To see Hasbro develop further on this would just be amazing. Now, I believe that just about wraps it up for his robot mode. Overall, I think the robot mode is absolutely fantastic. As I said, this is my favourite Transformer out of my entire collection, and that's really saying something. The details and the paint applications all throughout are amazing. The articulation, considering this guy actually transforms, is phenomenal. And I love the way how the motorcycle transforms into a very accurate weapon, and the inclusion of Lennox as his Human Alliance counterpart I think is very cool, and the way that it integrates is very well done. Now let's get Jazz from his amazing robot mode into his equally amazing vehicle mode. And here we have Jazz in his vehicle mode. Now, to my knowledge, this is a Pontiac Solstice, and I do not believe that they are available anymore. I think the car was discontinued in 2007. Some believe that is why they killed Jazz off in the first live-action Transformers movie. However, this figure is an extremely faithful representation of the vehicle that we did see in the film. Now, as I said, this guy is 7 years old, so there are some paint scuffages which I've caused myself, so it's not a defect to the figure. If you buy this on a place like eBay or something, you probably won't have the same defects in paint. However, as you can see, we've got a very nice bumper here. Would have been pretty nice to have seen some black paint applied here. However, it's not too bad. Very cool translucent headlights. We've got the red emblem there. The gunmetal silver used throughout is a very nice shade and just gives it this very nice muted shine. Really nice. The back, we've got red painted tail lights. Nothing on the license plate, unfortunately, and nothing here. The rims, or the inner rims, are painted silver, which is really cool. And there is a very nice transparent blue, smoky blue plastic tint to the windows, which is very cool. When you've got Lennox incorporated inside the vehicle, you can see him through it, and it does create the illusion that he is driving the vehicle. We've got the spoiler at the back, which is very nicely sculpted. We've got a gas cap there and not on the other side, so that's very nice that they haven't just slapped two on the sides for the sake of symmetry. We've got the wind mirrors there, not painted on the back, so you're not particularly going to look at your figure from the back. The Human Alliance element is still able to be incorporated here. You can get Lennox in a somewhat seated situation, and you can just pull the door open. And inside, which I think is very cool, there are some details of a steering wheel which is articulated and a dashboard. Now we will plug him in by simply just pushing him in there and pegging him into the seat like that. And there we've got Lennox very securely inside the vehicle. Just position his hands on the wheel, close the door up, and there we've got Lennox driving Jazz. Now, as I said, you can see the figure through the windscreen, which is a very cool touch. Of course, this does roll very nicely. Overall, this figure is just a complete crowd pleaser. Now, I don't actually have many Transformers transformed in their vehicle modes, so I will only be able to do a comparison with the Last Night Voyager class Hound. As you can see, he's pretty much the same size as Voyager Hound, if not shorter, and considering the robot mode is a lot bigger than Hound, it's very amazing how the engineers made this vehicle mode relatively small and the robot quite big. Just turning it around. Here's more or less Voyager class scale. Overall, I highly recommend this Human Alliance Jazz figure. Unfortunately, the Human Alliance line has been discontinued. It was discontinued back in 2011, with the last line of toys being the Dark of the Moon ones. If you can pick this guy up on eBay for a reasonable price, I would definitely say go for it. He's by far one of the best Transformers that Hasbro have ever produced. He's actually up there with some of the masterpiece figures, and for this being a regular retail figure, which originally retailed for about $29.99 in the UK, it's definitely a must-have in any Transformers collection. Thanks for watching.